and welcome back to Bump Love. It's a beautiful Friday and a beautiful day to engage with you. Thank you for all the comments, all the likes, the subscriptions. We see you, we hear you, we love it. Thank you. Now, today, masculinity is the topic we're going to speak about. It is known as manliness, and it's a set of attributes that are either biologically, theoretically, socially, culturally, or even by religion associated with men and boys. Now, this could include things like strength, courage, independence, leadership, assertiveness, decisiveness, provision, ambition, competitiveness, and all of that. And all of those in the right measure are just great. However, over the last decades, these set of attributes and these ways of behaving have had a negative impact on men themselves, their relationships with their wives, and even those at work, and to our society. Now, these behaviors have advanced into things like narcissism, domination, violence, aggression, to mention but a few. In a few words, toxic masculinity. Today on the show is the Omuntu Wawansi leader, sapiosexual thinker, event host, award-winning news anchor, Andrew Kyamagero. Godfrey Kuteesa, who is passionate about boys and men and is a founder of the Boys Mentorship Program. It's a conversation that we've seen around, especially on the internet, and we've seen the word being thrown around, and with all the different behaviors that come with it. How would you define toxic masculinity, and in what ways do you think society has, or culture have perpetuated the rise of toxic masculinity, especially over like the past 2 decades?
There is a difference. Toxic masculinity, the way they used to see it or they used to view it, has changed. And I'm reminded of scenarios that actually used to bring about that word. Scenarios of, in the past days, it used to mean that, oh wow, you are using your masculinity or your manhood or your being a man,
Your manliness, yeah.
to step on somebody.
Right.
Let's say you're beating someone, or
Yeah.
you're abusing someone,
Yeah.
or you are, you're doing things that are inhuman.
Yeah.
So, and you pride in it.
Yeah.
Yes. So then it used to mean that, and whoever used to speak it, they made sense with it,
Yeah.
because it was toxic. That's not how men should be. That's not how a man should be viewed. You're not going to steal someone's money or to come on and tell your wife, ask for a loan, let's say at your place of work, and then and then you ask for a loan, and then your wife comes up and tells you, Katiman, sentence not twice, we have to pay back this money, and you say, no, don't I feed you, or don't I do this for you? So toxic masculinity meant, or was meant to mean, that you are mistreating or pushing or squeezing someone because you're a man.
Right.
But now there is a delicate balance that has to be thrown when you are defining toxic masculinity today. There are things that men do that aboluzungu, the people of this generation, yes, you picked up, which are not meant to mistreat. If a man comes back home and demands for food, there's no way that's toxic masculinity. That's expected of a man. If a man comes up and says that, no, njagala kunazako kubigere by the way, there's no way that is toxic masculinity.
Kuteesa, for context, put that in English so that people can understand it.
Subtitles.
Yes.
There's no way that is toxic masculinity. Kubanga, gundi, mbadde ntambula olunaku lwonna for you. Bwe nzija ne nanna oba ne nteeka ebigere byange, of course nga mwami Kyamagero, and n'oteeka ebigere byo ku mmeeza. You cannot come up and say, I'm being toxic. Sikunyigirizaako nate. But there is an environment that has been created by you because people. Ekintu kyonna kasita kibanga, it has, you don't like it, it becomes toxic to you. That's one aspect. So nga ate ne tutaawo yali akikola. Nga kinyumira because nze nabyeko abakyala abanyumira okunyigiriza ebigere by'ababba baabwe n'abiweweeta bulungi nnyo n'abisiga akazigo. I've seen that. So you, and by the way, mwamba mpise wano. You, and I want to tell you this. Environment is ekyuka. Toxic masculinity, you'd call it toxic. Ng'omusajja kuba mukyala we amukuba amunyigiriza olw'okuba. Yes. Omwana omulenzi olina abaana abalenzi, olina n'abawala. Omulenzi n'agamba nti nedda nze sijja kwoza bintu. Okuba ndi muki? That is toxic masculinity. Nti kitegeeza ki? Kyogamba omulenzi talya. Kyogamba omulenzi, that is toxic. But there are things that are expected of a man.
That we are now calling toxic.
Yes, bye mwafuula oluyimba to push down men. In the process of doing that, you weaken the men.
Thank you, Mr. Kuteesa. Your thoughts are really informative and educational. I would like to say that just because women used to do it in the past and never said anything, it doesn't mean it was right. It just means that now there's a platform where people can address things that were obviously a challenge. Now, one of the most obvious ones were somebody saying, if a man beats his wife, it means she loves him. He loves her. He loves her. Guma, doesn't he pay school fees? Doesn't he pay the rent? Hasn't he built this home? What do you mean he beats you? Keep quiet, he loves you. Women accepted that. Just because they accepted it doesn't mean it was right. Just because a widow was inherited by her brother-in-law, culturally acceptable, it doesn't mean it was right. Just because a man sleeps with all the nieces in his home because he's a man who pays the school fees and people kept quiet because he paid school fees, it doesn't mean it was right. It just means now we're addressing it because those things are wrong at every level. What I do appreciate from your contribution is that we have created a space where some boys are confused. I train a lot of boys, and this is what they genuinely say, that in school, there's a lot of discrimination, a lot of bias towards them. Why? Because girls are favored. So while feminism was a wonderful platform, unfortunately, there's now an imbalance where girls are favored, and these boys are genuinely confused. I'm speaking of teenage boys, young men, and we spend 30 minutes talking about the unfairness. I used to teach in an international school. A lesson was an hour. I remember one lesson for 45 minutes. They had to explain why they felt teachers were so biased towards them. A girl will commit the same act, but they don't receive the same punitive measure. And we had to address it as a school. So what I do appreciate is that there's an imbalance, but there are some things that were unacceptable. Women are human beings and should be treated with respect.
But you know what's interesting, Beverly?
Yes.
When I heard his contribution, I actually thought, that makes sense.
Yes.
Why? Is that it is true that indeed there are certain things which that certain men do right now, which because we feel uncomfortable with, we've decided to name it as he's being toxic.
Yes, of course.
So say, I wish I could give like an example. If he says to you, you know what, babe, I think, and he gives his opinion, then immediately, no, you're being narcissistic. Most men, for example, when you bring up an issue, they'll usually take a back seat and wait before they make a decision. A woman will come and say, he's toxic. Why? He's gaslighting me now.
Yeah.
You know, so I hear him.
Yes.
There's a very thin,
Yeah.
line between what is actual toxicity, because all the examples you gave, he's saying that was toxic, because he's saying beating up a woman,
Of course,
disrespecting her, all of that is toxic. But there are certain things which now, which should be okay.
Yeah.
Like, for example, okay, not with the way you said it. If Mr. Mlondo came in and said, no, babe, could you help me rub my feet? I would happily rub my feet.
Now
I would happily rub his feet.
You hear that? Could you?
Yes.
There is, and the confusion comes from the word equality. That's where the confusion comes in. Where the imbalance.
Yes, the imbalance.
The imbalance, the other word to bring the imbalance in context is the equality. You think that Molondo should ask politely, so your choice, his choice of words and tone matter to you more than what he needs.
Because I wouldn't know that.
Because you think you are equal to him.
No. I don't think I'm equal to Mr. Mlondo. I know my position in Mr. I know how the dynamic works. But I wouldn't appreciate it if Mr. Mlondo came in and said, "Great,
gruff voice.
Talk about Kinagers." No, if he could treat me,
I hear you on that.
Not as an equal. I'm not asked as an equal. For me, I know. I believe in the Bible. I know where I know I'm the weaker vessel, and I'm very okay with it. Even when you come for me, the comments me. I know where I lie, but I also know that it's important that even the way he speaks with me is I'm his. Have you done Song of Solomon?
Yes,
when you read Song of Solomon, the way he speaks with her, it's just so beautiful. And you know, when he tells me, could you?
Songs of Solomon was
My
written in
neighbor
the
is
Holy
burning.
and I want to appreciate the Songs of Solomon.
He was so kind.
He was kind.
He was kind.
But he was not dealing with the digital pressure we're dealing with today. And you're speaking about a man who had over 300 concubines. You're relating the same man to Morondo, who has one. It's very unfair. It is very unfair. You understand? So King Solomon was very good because he had 300 plus concubines. So his creativity, tenacity was to make sure that he impresses all these. When he finds one in the corridors and say the skies are azure and indeed you're the light of the day, that is meant for that particular person. When he takes a sharp corner and meets another Kalenjin person, he's going to change. Here it is. Here it is. No. You went in the Bible. Let me bring it in the context. And you generation, the women today,
But because
there is a saying that says, behind every successful man, there is a woman. Yes. It is biblically wrong. A wife has to be besides, not behind. She came from the rib. She has to be besides. Now, the same fools from the Western world with their agendas, they put the woman at the back with those connotations of saying in the second wave of feminism, they advance it to you today, and you run with it like a headless chicken. Men like us, we're not going to allow that nonsense to thrive for two reasons. One, we have a culture where we subscribe. You should be very careful and very worried about the generation alpha. Our children are generation alpha. We should be more concerned the way the Gen Zs are happening, that is informing the generation they have given birth to. If you say that a girl and a boy are going to be equal, and the confusion comes in this, Bill, that the boy has started now to feel that he needs to feel like a woman because women get quite a lot more attention and they get so free because they lack this stature and space for them to be men.
Actually, it starts from them not even knowing what it is to be a boy.
So when you're at home and my son Mandela does something, I don't beat him. But my tone, my body language, my postures, she knows this is a no-no.
Yes.
And he is going to come and kneel and say, Mwami Kyamagero nsaba kunsonyiwa.
Yes.
I'm a Muganda, he will kneel until he's 12 years.
Yes.
Because that's how we train our children. And the moment you bring the democracy,
I'm treating a sister way.
that I'm going to treat him like the sister, I have a problem.
Yes.
Mandela is going to start to behave like the girl because he needs that attention.
Same treatment, yes.
That is not going to happen.
Absolutely.
So the masculinity problem today has come to what the Gen Zs, which are actually the biggest population we have today, what they deem is uncomfortable, unfavorable, and ancient in their context. He says, when I come back home, there is a day Kuteesa called me and told me, I've just come back. He took a video and sent it to me. They were, you know, giving him a foot massage. But his arrangement with his wife is totally different from you and Humphrey. If you see this on social media, when the wife of Kuteesa's posted it, the world is going to go up in arms. And slavery, there is something they use today. They call it enslavement. Like, babe, help me make some tea. Don't you have hands? That's in slavery. If the tone and the choice of words are not paid attention to, we could amplify and glorify the women movements today, but we're endangering the alpha generation of the men. Now, we are bringing up a better version of men, better with the B-E-T-A. Men who are going to call mommy every time when she annoys me. Now, mommy, what do I do? Now, mother has to always intervene because he does not have a spine enough to stand forward and say, Bino sibira bawan. Now, the more you guys are saying toxic masculinity, misogynist, and there is a way fools look when they're amplifying this conversation of toxic masculinity.
Very true.
I will call them fools because most of them are detached from their culture.
Yes.
Most of them have a deficit of exposure to African context.
Yes.
Are you not shocked that the conversation of toxic masculinity is happening only in Europe and Africa, not in Asia?
Yes.
Is it by accident?
Whereby men are still on top.
Is it by accident?
They are still on top.
I might please intervene and disagree.
Men are still on top.
It's okay. But can we take a moment and we ask ourselves, what is Japan doing different? A man in Japan is groomed from the word go to be a samurai, to protect, to lead, and to provide. A woman is groomed from the word go to be a geisha, to comfort and make the home homely. Whether she attains whatever education at what level, her cores go back to you are a geisha. When your husband comes back, titirida, kneel and give and appreciate your husband. Make it homely. They have not lost this touch. The conversation of toxic and misunderstood masculinity, it's in Europe and Africa. And we are not paying the lens of the timing. We are not paying attention of the culture. We are not paying attention to whose interest is this agenda being driven. Africa agenda of 2063, Africa is the future.
Can I comment on that geisha?
Please.
Because I've actually read a novel called The Geisha.
Please.
I've read it, a bit of it in French, and now the geishas were not just trained to be subservient, which is wonderful, you know, serve, but they're actually trained as high-end prostitutes. That is what it means. And they were meant to serve the men. Japan was extremely potent in one of the world wars, World War II, wasn't it, Hiroshima? And the geisha women who came out were there to comfort, to serve, and to do all of those things. However, they were trained from an extremely young age, which meant that there was sexual exploitation. Now, what I agree with is train men and boys to be protectors, to be providers, and to be men whom their children can look to for security. Don't let them go to daddy and daddy's confused, calling his mother all the time. Daddy, there's a problem. Yaka has gone. Let me call my mommy. Let me call your jaja. That's a problem. That's a problem. And unfortunately, that's what is happening.
But how will daddy
you have to agree,
not call mama when mother from the word go
has been like
was grooming him to be that?
Now the problem is, while back to the geisha, you have to agree that there is a problem, though. While it's good, there's a problem because there's a lot of child sexual exploitation.
Correct.
These girls are exploited by these old men. That is wrong.
Correct.
And we have to agree that some of these measures, while they have many misgivings. While they were good, they had great intentions. There were many misgivings because children were exploited, and the role of a child is not to be sexually abused, not at all.
Yeah.
However, I do understand your misgivings. I do. It's wrong for a father of a home to call his mother every time there's a small problem, because then of course the mother will take on. Why should the mother do that? Why should the children look to the mother as a protector and a provider all the time when the father is there? It's wrong. So we just have to create a balance, you know what I mean? But we have to agree that some things absolutely.
And for me, that's
But
where usually I have
yes.
a few issues with this conversation. I feel that while we agree on, I feel like even here we
Yes.
agree. We agree
On
in
the
principle.
principles?
In
On the-
principle, we
Yeah.
agree that there's a problem.
Yes,
we
there's
agree
an-
that there was a certain kind of man,
Yes.
a certain kind of definition of masculinity that was being abused, that was big. Men were beating up wives, men were sexually abusing their wives, and we all agree that that wasn't the right kind
Yes.
of masculinity.
Yes.
And then there was a rise of feminism to help women stand up and say, no, don't beat me, don't.
Yes.
But in the rise of femininity, then
Imbalance. Yes.
there was a chisusa, because also feminism
Overtaken,
on its
yeah.
own has no issues.
Has
On
no
its
issues.
own has no issues. But then there was an abuse of the feminism
Yes, yeah.
where now you find that men or the boys that are being raised have been weakened. Yeah, they've become women. Now they don't even know their gender.
They have no
And
leader.
They have
There's
no
no
leader.
leadership
They
for
have
them.
exactly.
Yeah.
So if we both agree that too much feminism and too much masculinity is too much, is wrong. How can we find the balance? Because I feel that when we're having this conversation, women will be able to say, okay, yeah, we see the problem with feminism. Men, on the other hand, will not. And I feel like men need to be accountable enough to say, yeah, it's true. When you give us leadership roles, yeah, there are times that we overdo it. And moving forward, women, if you can come back a bit, yeah, just step back a little bit.
Yes.
We're going to be better leaders. No more beating, no more. We're going to respect you as human beings, not as equal men,
Yes.
You see,
but as fellow human beings.
This conversation cannot happen in Congo because it's a war-torn country. This conversation can't happen in South Sudan. They just got the independence and peace a few years ago. Countries that are having conversations of this nature are countries that have expressed and experienced peace on a longer latitude. Because the man, Kuteesa, was born during the war. His way of doing things are war mode. He does not have to tell you that he loves you as a son. His actions will tell you.
Yeah, school fees.
Yet, the wife I have today will remind me to tell my son that I love him. You understand?
Yeah.
Because now we are in a state of, there is a generation that feels it's entitled to be raised the way the fathers missed or the mothers missed in a way. And in so doing, that's where we are raising the better men. Men who are financially stable, powerful in positions, but weak in ideological grounding and weak in values. Whatever brings the money, if it's me going to do whatever is against my culture and my belief system, it's happening. The problem is not that the men actually are not home. No. We have normalized
Lack
single
of leadership.
parenthood.
Yeah.
We have normalized single parenthood. We, you know, women between the age of 25 to 38, they're turbulent. They're reactionary. It's a rebel movement, those 10 years. And in those 10 years, the career is speaking, the kids are going forward, and they don't feel they need a man. And let's equally plug in
25 to 30.
25 to 38. They don't want to know. They have
The ones
children.
of these days?
They have a ring. They have a career to beat. Toinacho Mugamba. You try to actually tell her that I'm the husband, she's going to say, Mukwa, and I can actually part out of this. But when you try to audit more, where does this girl come from? She comes from a single mother. So she never saw a father to understand the tone of a husband and the tone of a boyfriend and the tone of a friend.
Have you stopped to understand why the mother is single? Maybe it's not by choice.
No,
maybe the father was
that's where I'm coming.
Yes.
That the father ran away. Or the father was physically present but defranchised on the different layers. But it was the role of the mother then to plug these children in a fatherly figure in community. Among the Africans, when I die, my wife has to find a fatherly figure within the community to plug my children into. It's either the reverend at church, it's either one uncle, it's either the big brother, where she says that if you're not going to do this...
I mean like a mentorship.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, that was in our culture, that you just don't go single and you don't have a fatherly figure, manly figure around. Because the moment a child, especially the boy, cannot find a fatherly tone, even in his own
like
father.
As a mentor.
Yes. A boy will see that the father is weak and the boy will plug in the neighbor. Because men will look for that alpha feel. If I come to my father every time, Daddy, I want this, and I give, I'm going to look for a man who is resistant. It's inherent of men. So if he left, or he was present, but was defranchised by finance and all, but the mother didn't take the tenacity to plug these children into a fatherly figure, there was no accountability. Later we find a damaged woman who is independent by ideology, at the same time has embraced individuality. Life is all about me. Do the rest.
I'd like you to talk to the husband who left.
You lose it.
Because I feel like
Yes.
we're
And
talking to the woman
yes,
who stayed,
I'm coming
who
to
tried
that.
her best.
The husband who
Talk to the
left,
husband.
two things that happened. While we're talking about toxic masculinity, we must not underscore toxic feminism.
Yeah, I thought about that as well.
They are women who will push you psychologically. If a woman grew up in a home where the father didn't stay, or the father stayed up to when she was 5 years. Psychology tells us that when this woman gets a husband and they have a child, and the child makes 6 years, from 6 years and above, she's a turbulence of the
Why
home.
did the father leave? Can we get to
That's
that?
where I'm coming.
Yes.
Because she doesn't know how to deal with the man who stays. The man in my pattern, where I come from, left when I was 5. This kid is 6, this guy has to go. Now, when the father who left, we always have to go back and we deal with those childhood traumas. It's very pertinent and people take it lightly. Why did the father leave? The other day we were having a Twitter space about absent fathers. And a lady called me and said, Andrew, today I have forgiven my father, but it's too late that he's dead. The guy was a school teacher, headmaster. The wife was working in Sabena Airlines. The mother was working in Sabena Airlines. This was a air hostess who was traveling across the globe, married to a head teacher. So there was a financial imbalance. There was an exposure imbalance. And every time she pushed him that you can leave, I'll take care of them. And she says in this phone call that, Andrew, every time I ask my father, why did you leave us? He said, with time you will know. With time you will know. It was when we were having this Twitter space that a psychiatrist broke it down and she realized that daddy didn't just leave home. Mother made it hard for him to stay. Manuela, I cannot be a man who goes out and I toil and I fight against the world. And I come back home to abuses. I cannot be a man who goes out of my way and I say I'm going to sacrifice for my home. And I come back home and because you're empowered, you're going to point me to the kitchen to microwave my food. We are not in Europe, we are in Africa. So your exposure versus the conditioning and the environment where we are, how are you balancing that? So if I tell you that help me prepare my dinner, and you say, babe, but we are all working, I've also equally just returned, but you can microwave your food. In my culture, Just so you know, I don't have a microwave in my house.
At least security.
I'm a Uganda man, and we have, thank God for the renewable energy. You can use green petrol and then you lit it up. You're telling me to go and I make my own food. I make myself dinner. Gwe, Ogambe mwami am free. Genda, yeah? You're pointing me to the kitchen. That's not my office. I am a man. My job is strategic at the very top. You're sending me in operations. I won't come there. And as a Uganda man, I won't beat you, but I won't eat food. And I won't prepare that meal. Do you know what you're doing? You're pushing me now to pay attention to the other restaurants that have good food I want. Because I told you, it takes a lot of guts for a man to decide every day to come back to you.
Again, gentlemen, I struggle when men do not see their contribution to what is happening in our society.
Yes.
Even when I have asked why has the father left,
You're blaming the women.
You're blaming the women.
But then
And for pushing the men away. And yes, no, Kyamagero, please, you just see it.
Let me hear you.
You just see it.
The reason why men are leaving, it's the empowerment that has no pedigree and regulation. That is one.
No, let me say this.
I'm coming. I've said one. I have said one.
Okay,
let
him speak.
We are having damaged women and wives. We are having damaged products of wives we either got married to because of nyashi na nyashi, or the other pedigree.
And we reached there. Doesn't have integrity.
Or it is something to do with societal gratification or structure where you are going to marry her because your father said you have to.
So the men have no responsibility to take at all for their living.
And the thing is, the responsibilities sometimes we fall below the belt. That is not something we're going to push under the carpet. But the reason why we're falling below the belt, because we didn't observe anyone take charge. So we are inadequate. Some men are inadequate in understanding the principles of accountability and leadership. Because they never saw anyone lead. They grew up with single mothers. Mothers who never plugged them into men's spaces. So there is a father
who was responsible for it somewhere.
And he was not there.
Is being blamed for.
No.
You're blaming women for
that father was not there. But even when the father was not there, there was no intentionality to plug this boy in a man clothes.
By the mother.
You guys,
sorry.
Godfrey, I think there was a video going around on social media and he was so bitter talking about absentee dads and all. I feel like Kyamagero has refused to talk about the role men play in the absenteeism in their children's lives.
No, he has talked about it. For me, I wanted to affirm something that Madame Beverley, Charlie Mukuleta. You see, when you start on a point of saying you see, men live, and the biggest way they live is because of their women.
I appreciate that.
Kakati, now, how? You might squeeze a man like Andrew has mentioned at home. Ogamatana responsibility, and that man leaves. And you see that man taking responsibility. Takes school fees, he does everything. Most men, not all, most men who leave their homes or who abandon their homes, when they start a new home, they do exactly what they didn't do in that first home.
I think we talked about that.
You understand? Now, Beverly, what you're failing to understand on Andrew's submission is that a man is compelled to do what they do by the environment where they are. For example, you might sense tanguli yanga yali nakamuli ogola boyo naye ebimuli abigulira abachi abalala oyo gomulaba Valentine yatuuka namulaba atiguka nabachi nabalala nomugabo wabirabo otya sinabiraba ku status ye ngali n'abalala abatutte luddawa. Then I asked myself, okay, It doesn't mean that this man can't do this or was never taught to do this. That means in his life, in his world, he knows that it is good to do a woman in this. Then we go back to root cause analysis. Hey, you go back to the root cause. Ono momukazi gwatidisa bichi byamukola. Ayizo kuba nomwana watoludda ng'omukyala akwata ebigere ng'abinyigiriza naye bw'olubirengera ng'okola ki. You see, and very bwakuba mudduse ku speed mumadde wali mwogera luzungu nnyo naye nsooka nsirika. But there is something that you mentioned that is not actually true about those children in your international schools that, and Andrew mentioned it, who felt that teachers are not paying attention to them. A man was not created for that.
For attention.
No. A boy actually was not created for attention. When you give him attention, that's why you see a lot of men who have good sons in their homes. Mama yamwagala. But daddy, why does daddy have to shout at me to tell me, why does he talk to me like he talks to Beverly? It's not like that. A man's love towards their son is actually to detach. Oh, please wash for me this car. You know, but I take oh darling. You see, for me, I grew up in a home whereby that man never mentioned anything good to me. Ojo musajja. Rota saye. Akujayo no sawa by force. But when you slash properly, agama wasaye wao. Kale. Nako mao. Why? Because life is like that for men. In a world whereby no one is going to say, oh, thank you very much. What oli mukazi? You have to. The sympathy that boys are looking for today, your boys, is because they're told a lie that they should be sympathized with. Whereas this world, landlord wajataja ku sympathizing now. Ajagama percentage angoba from nyumba. Life is like that for men. That's why you see, you reach a point whereby omukazi abuza bawe nti kati tugenda kola tutya. Nakyo ne kigamba kati tugenda kola tutya. Gumira ku mama wo. Exactly. Christmas it's Christmas time. The wife is asking, what is the plan for us as a home?
Babe, what do you think?
Exactly. What is the plan? What is the plan? Why? Because women were created to follow. They want someone to make a decision, so it might be a stupid decision. But they want someone to make a decision so that, okay, we follow it or we about it. The video that I'm talking about is, even men, that is, there's that. Mom Kyamagero knows. Omwana uwe musai, bamuyise Kasozi, umana erinnya lya jjajjaawo. Kasozi tagenda somero. Buli wagezaako kunoonya tebakusabye yadde n'ekikumi. They have not asked for any piece of money from you. Kasozi dresses up. Kasozi needs shoes. They have not asked for any of that. But the man keeps on avoiding Kasozi. If the way this man was brought up, instead he made a mistake, they blamed someone else. Or they blamed the sister. Yes. They said, if was chai, ngabane nyomukozi wachikwetana no muteredde awo naawe
omwana obadde omulaba
jjemwe yes naakula n'atuuka ku ssomero n'atandika okusoma nekisoma bubi ne banenya omusomesa ne mu mulimu abantu abaana mubawa ebintu ebizibu kati gwe abasobola bikola lwaki tomuyambako kiri awo kitunula kyafukidde mu mpale ne banenya nawe waki tomututte mu shortco time with these children and take them to short court. You are keeping and shielding because you allowed what you are talking about, that you will give them attention. That's not how boys grow. That's not how men grow. Now, that boy tomorrow agenda ku raping omwana.
Obere mu case.
Ogamene olimba wakunamye nnyo.
What's the woman do saying at atako? And I've got that case. What's the woman do saying at atako? You see, he has never been put in a point
To be accountable.
to be accountable for that mistake.
Yep.
The better men. We men, we were raised.
How old are the better men?
Most of them are Gen Zs born between 2000 and above.
2060, 2080, they have never blamed him for anything. Even when he did it, they blamed the big sister. Those are the men today that are seeking sympathy. Number creating a WhatsApp group. Number tekako ntikwa nange kati Philip omwege gumulemye kati Philip tumuyambe. Nonsense. How can Philip's problem be mine?
He's not accountable.
Alina maso, alina matu, musajja. You are creating the WhatsApp groups because you are the mother. Where your baby inga Philip.
That's the
And then you want that problem of Philip to spread all over. The family members, kuba chaza romana nchimusuleri kati fetubere responsible. How? Bring him musibiro mu nyumba. Now, Beverley.
Yes.
Where for me I disagree with the attention.
Yes.
That men should be given attention.
Boys
should be given. No one is going to give you attention. Kyamagero grew up without any attention. The idea of creating a world whereby that you see now boys are suffering a lot, you guys. They are suffering a lot, you guys. We're not giving them time.
paying attention.
No
Everyone
one's
is
paying.
focused.
Who the hell is supposed to be paying attention? The reason why women are stepping on us nowadays. They don't have cry groups. When they meet, they're talking about how to be a better woman, how women emancipation, women in what. There's no cry group. You dump a woman, she says no woman they say oh. Today a woman dumps a man. Nga chigwa mu depression wali. Nga atandika kaaba nga anywa omwenge bamubuuza kiki mukazi yankyaye. In which world? Ye mukazi ekali ku nsi. Now, as I want to give you men, or you get the why men live today.
Yes. Now, can I just qualify that?
Yes,
Didn't I
yes.
Because, no, please.
qualify your Tegezachi?
Qualify means you might have misunderstood her.
Oh, okay.
So she wants to. Yeah.
I do understand what you're saying, but to go back to what I was saying about leaving, when Mr. Kyamagero kept saying that men leave, you said it was the environment. Now, the environment is true. Sometimes the home situation can be impossible. He'll go to another home where he behaves the way a man should behave, quote unquote. Can you please, let's agree that men as well need to take responsibility without blaming another person, because there are men who have stayed even in difficult situations and they have been able to resolve them. So do you mean that all factors constant, when a woman behaves like this, then a man will be this? No, because how come women have endured brutality from men and have still stayed? Can we please rise? Where's my camera? Where's my... But anyway, no, what I'm saying is that I just want you to explain a situation. You've said very valid points, and I'm sure many men are learning. It's true. We have weakened them in many situations. We have given over to them being unable to resolve issues, which they should be able to resolve. They're not taking accountability. Yes, we have played a role in that. However, there are situations, if women have risen to the cause and have really borne the brunt, where many are now playing both a father role in terms of provision and what, and they've still stayed in these abusive marriages. Women still do. So what is the difference? Why can't men still be able to resolve and take responsibility? Women are always being told, Guma, stay in that marriage. He's a good man. Why is a man running away the first time? Because the environment. She did not prepare food. She told me to go to the microwave. You leave because she told you to go to the microwave.
No. Go chogamba be a man and stay, or yongero kunyegereza. Do you know the first? Auntie would it is top far you.
Oh, you're muchala. You know,
microwave
what
and
makes
you
me
said
upset.
Banange,
What upsets Godfrey? What upsets me is when a man will get annoyed because you've not respected him as a man.
Yes.
Yeah, and he will leave a marriage.
Yes.
But he'll beat up a woman, pregnant,
Yes.
kill her child.
Yes.
She's bleeding. Because let me tell you, there is no amount of abuse that a woman can inflict on a man that is so... But a man will do it to her, and again, us will be told...
Continually.
Buma.
Yes.
Sigalau.
Yes.
You come out with a thing on your head, and we've agreed that it is abusive and it is toxic. But then men are saying, even that woman, given another man, would thrive.
Madam,
just a microwave and you run away because of it.
You see, you want to think that the level of pain between men and women is the same. Techisoboka. Katigwe. Olabo musajja. Just to touch on their ego. It cannot equate to kukuba. No tonyo omusaayi. Abamu. Nga yecho kumudda mubuzi. No mala mudda mubuzi nti gwe waki tobyekolera oba n'omubogolera. That is enough. Kumusajja. Tofaayo madamu. Tuli ku toxic no.
All this time.
Hey, tuli ku toxic.
I really feel like we left.
Tukyagiriko lwakuba tugisimidde omusingi munene nnyo. And Mwami Kyamagero will understand. We the men, Edda, in those days, actually men never left homes. It's the women.
They just got a second one.
Now, by the absence.
When a woman left, what was the implication? I'm asking because I need
when a woman left, yes, Bagdanga, you're the man. When she left and went into her home, then you go back.
So she went to her family?
Yes, her family home. Yes, there's Songanabasi Gonjola. And you know what the meaning of Omukazanobie was to explain what we've been to Kuatagana. No more in Bamuita, no Magamanti, Katimuji to get a Gane. Now, you see, today, I think women told you women in you. Temucha have a maka. Yes?
Because most times we are down to build.
Ramugambida again and says, what Siba one. You understand? Say to what is it? Nana Yomukazo Sasuri Nyumba. Njagaran says Sasuri and Kusibide way to Kuruji. The reason as to why it is happening in that direction, and I will tell you this. Amakaga Musajja. Kichwaje bagamba itoyinza kuleta abagenyi mu maka ga musajja bwotyo nga tomugambye wamutekereza ku mama kyabageno ategede nti wina yabagenyi. You see the aspect of yeya n'obuyinza your authority you because people you don't want actually that aspect. You would ask if they ask wamutekereza ku nti wina yabagenyi mama enyumba si ya FFMB bagenda kubachi I'm also a owner of the house. Yes it's my vista kati that Sagara Gendayu. Now, women.
Because I had a response to that. I respect my husband and we always have the discussions.
Now,
that's my point.
When they left, when they could not have the respectfully, they invited the man. Respect.
And the woman's family.
And the man's family had to come with key elements. That were there when the marriage was being solidified.
Absolutely.
So not everyone comes for that meeting. It's my father, my auntie, at times, but again, not my mother.
Yes. Abaku holding accountable.
No, it's my mother, my auntie.
Yes.
That come because my lineage is with my father.
Mama si wachikacho no mwana.
Well, so you came with your uncle and your dad.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, respectfully, let us mark the word. When I chiva somewhere saringa tuvuge motoka, yenga temuchamvuga motoka. Chevaita okuzo obufumbo. The idea, the woman never went to report the husband. Yanobanga ne bamusa mama over the yochi. Because when she goes to report, you demean this man. And now I'm telling you why abasajja tebavanga maka edda. Now today, twambala matayi ne tugenda ku mikolo gy'emu ku saidi y'omukyala naye nga batuyisayisaamu dda amaaso ffe mumulaba. Bakuloopa dda. Mumulabira awo naye talina kyakola waka. There is no respect. Now, men live today because they can no longer put you under their submission to tell you to do what they want or to tell you to do how things are supposed to be done. Era abakyala abagumye bamagamba nti guma gwe nakibasomesa era mu mmotoka bamugambanga uliza nti yiga bawo tonamuyiga Humphrey
akakati
muyigirira tonamuyiga bwakoma ugo chai muteke wali tika wakatasa nabe mu ngalo wemenya weka agamba yiga bawo. The reason as to why yiga bawo was ono mutwe gwe gwalinga munene gaguganya okuyiga bawe ngoli amugamba tompa chai yawoze njabi kuyiranze. Of course that was inhumane. Ne tompa chai akoza atya awoze osekende. Now olunjalo ne lugamba nti nze chai namugwaddayo cha watch the woman weleddewo olwefuko lutalo paka omusajja kati now today men no longer have the way to deal with this. Atambula butamu zinagende wana muwa chai ngalubawo namutabinga namuterako enguju namuterako ki namugamba chai wuno daddy. Now men they live, by the way, when men live, these men who live homes, they don't live and stay single. I'm a single. Because if they lived and stayed single, they live and they find someone who will submit. And I'm also, if you get it, and I'll call it. Era nemwe bwe baleseewo ne mutandika gamba yagende eyo alina bajoga. Yes, alina bajoga.
It's so true, by the way. It's so true.
Alina bajoga. Naye abo bajoga bagenda fuuka mukamki.
But you see, the context Kuteesa is bringing is the choice of words and the tone again.
But that's what I said.
What you people say and call bajoga, enslavement, to him it is submission. That's the context. We always, time and again, we're struggling with that. And women want to submit, or women will only submit to a visionary man, a man who has leadership, that this is where it's going. If I'm speaking to Linda, sometimes I hear her tone when it's emancipated.
Nga toni si ya abukyala.
And I'll tell her, wait for my wife to speak.
Ojuwulidde. Mwamusema okozesa ekigambo eky'oluzungu kankinafuye mu Luganda. Nti kakivunule. Nti otegeera nga Linda akuzzeemu nti eyo eddoboozi lyakozesezza n'ebigambo byayo si bya bukyala.
Webali nnyo. Now, the moment that tone and the choice of words, and I don't know why women actually at times fail it. And men. Maybe. But men pay more attention. Men pay more attention to the tone and the choice of words. That's where the power lies.
Yes.
Mbadde nsaba kugenda ku mbaga yaba Humphrey. When is the wedding? The wedding is this Saturday. You're telling it to me on Wednesday. Chinzo utasoboka. It may not be possible. Because now you are not informing me of the wedding you think you must attend. You are telling me that you're going.
Angenda.
No, the job of a husband is to protect you. Humphrey's biggest job on earth is to protect you against your children, against his in-laws and your siblings and the world. That is his job. So when you tell him on Wednesday or on Saturday morning that you're going for the wedding, sometimes men will say, hey, okay, and you'll continue watching Al Jazeera. And you'll say, you'll go on and you iron. And you'll come out and say, you're going to escort me somewhere before you go for the wedding.
So who is saying that, the husband?
Yes, don't mind, you're going to escort me somewhere. Your wedding is at Golden Tulip. He's driving towards Kachiri.
In your dress?
In your dress.
Can you please say how many miles apart for those who may not?
Those are 30 kilometers
30
from Kampala.
kilometers apart.
And while he's driving, He's going to his site. While he's driving, in his mind, today you had to visit the site. In his program, on Saturday, my wife and I are going to be home. At 1, we are leaving home. We go to Kachiri. By 2, we'll be there. We check the site. At 3, we are returning. We go to somewhere in Nansana. We have food. We come back home. 8 a.m., you're telling him you have a wedding to attend. Before you go for the wedding, a husband is very, very intertwined with your outlook. How are you going to dress? Now you have your money, you bought the dress, everything is sorted. The reason you're not going to attend, because you did not communicate. You are empowered, you have the money, you have the motive, you have the resources. So you think you're going to go to the wedding. And when we reach Kachiri, of course, somewhere in Nansana, you're going to start to make noise. But 2 things have happened. You're in my car, and you're in emotion. And my temper is as calm as it should be. You're flaring. But what I'm communicating, even when we go and we return, learn to communicate. A husband, you don't tell your husband. You communicate to your husband. Because before you go for the wedding, I need to facilitate you. When I told people that when my wife calls me and tells me that I'm going for coffee with girls and I say Nkusanga Waka, it's not by accident. I am not sure that she has enough resources on her. Secondly, her friends and her board of directors, their job is to poke if I'm in charge and in leadership. I'm not in control, but I am in leadership. But their tone on phone will say, Mama, but Humphrey is telling you, go home, make matoke, and I need some malewa for today. A food that is going to take you close to 3 hours. But when he comes, he will tell you, but you see, the class of the friends who are calling you, they're not married. They're trying to check if you submit. Secondly, if by any chance you're empowered and you say, let me go with my girls, I mean, I didn't get into this, it's not slavery. When you go to them, they're whining and dabbing guys who are not married. And one of them is looking at you and is going to come and say, Bivi, that girl of yours, is that ring for real? Like, yeah, by the way, they just got married, but you know, like, just talk to him. He won't bite you. If my wife went to this party without finance, this guy is going to drop my wife at home. The conversation between the happening and my get, I'm losing. So if Humphrey tells you, Nkusanga Waka, please go home. Whatever they're going to call it, that Bakujoga, go home. But the biggest context here, and I want to come back to yours, because you asked that question and you said, why are men running away? The one thing we need to break, it's a pattern. A man or a boy who never saw a father stay will never stay. Unless his intention and say, this stops with me.
Yes.
But for it to stop with him, he must have a conglomerate of males that are alpha behind him that support him on a spiritual lane, on a mental lane, on a financial lane, and on an educational lane. A man will not stay unless he has alpha men who will show him the how. Because a father is a train. Do you know a train?
Educate me.
A train is not this entire carriage thing you see running around. A train is the head. That's where the engine is. Where it goes, it's where the carriages follow. It's where so if a home does not have the head, don't get shocked when it's derailed, these carriages are falling there, because there is no head. But for you to be a head, you must be trained and mentored on how the heads behave, on how the heads speak. Men who are real fathers and husbands, they don't shout. From the culture where I come from, we Uganda men, we don't beat women.
Real men don't shout or beat women. Thank you.
Because you're more informed on this creature. My father taught me your wife is going to piss you until you're 60 years. But on the other side, they keep telling Linda, Toiganga baro, up to today. When you call her, she will tell you that, that I don't think he will take it. Because she knows my extremes and where I will be moderate. When you say that a man is going to stay in a home, he has a reason why he's not leaving a home. He is accountable to his inner circle, those 5 people, spiritually, financially, business-wise, and exposure-wise. Men submit to alphas that teach them that. So that when he comes home and you do some things, there are days equally when my wife does things, guys, and I am in flames. She does things and I'm like...
Do you believe you do things that put her in flames?
Of course. And the times I actually go below the belt and she'll look at me and will say like, Andrew. And I say, see what it did. Now that I'm reminding her.
Mwami Kyamagero.
Mwami Kyamagero, I'm like, Wanji. Because Andrew is a democracy name that is going to give an entry point of your rage and anger. So the only one I'm going to deal with you, I'm going to say, Siwulide. The Siwulide, like I didn't hear you right, you're going to go back to my title. Mwami Kyamagero, I say, Wanji. Kino kyokoze, listen. Kino kyokoze sichitegeera. And she's not going to ask that question before my children. I will piss her off in public, and we go back home and she closes that down, she closes and say, Mwami wange. We have an ottoman in our bedroom. That's where I take off my shoes from. So when I'm taking off my shoes, she doesn't massage me. He's massaged. But when I'm seated there taking off my shoes, she will tell me, Mwami Kyamagero, kulikayo, mvudeyo. Naye batubadde ebwereyo oyina ekigambo kyoyogedde. I felt it was very disrespectful. It was below the belt. I didn't expect that to happen, however raged you were. I will look at her because sometimes men speak at strategic level that you may not understand. I am not going to be in public and you're abusing my wife and I'm going to be liberal. Now when I come back home and she thinks it was way beyond, I don't explain it back. Because the details and the power is in the details. I'll hold it. But even the way, at times when she's way below my belt, I'm like, this is way below. What do I do as a husband? Am I going to beat her? Am I going to demean her? And women of this generation, they have a tendency of putting sexual bans on us. You can't afford that in my home. I'm a Uganda man. If we have issues in home, what he mentioned, okuzo obufumbo, we are going to talk. Whatever tone you're going to use when you're in that bedroom, we are going to disagree and we are going to, but at the end of the day, it's going down.
Gentlemen, I'd like to bring us back to the conversation. I think we've had... But I think
we can understand, but if we, whether we agree, is a different thing.
We can also agree that there are empowered women who are respectful and whose homes are run
that's
yes. Because you have to agree that with the fluidity and the way we have grown, there are homes where women are empowered, highly educated, earning a lot, and whose homes are extremely peaceful and loving, and the man is so grateful.
Do you know
running
why?
home. Please don't answer.
Do you know why?
Yes, I know why you don't have to answer. And we'll agree that there are homes where the woman is cultural. We'll even start massaging you before you've left the car, and that home is ugly, and people are miserable. So there's neither either nor. Yes. We had a guest, you'll watch the show in the near future. She said that after they got married, they actually moved into her home. And you know what? She said her husband was secure. Was it a miserable home? No. Was the husband angry every day? No. Was he feeling less of a man because he was living in a home which was the woman's? No. Genuinely, no. Genuinely, they were a loving couple. Those are some things we have to agree on. What I agree with what both you and Godfrey are saying is yes, each woman,
Carry on.
In each marriage, I agree, in each marriage, there should be areas and spaces where you understand, what does this man love? What do I do to him that gives him respect? Emmanuel understands that about me, I understand that about him. There are things I will never do because he finds it disrespectful. It devalues him. I would never do that, ever. There's some people who are comfortable sharing all their dirty linen in public. I can never do that. It disrespects my husband. I will never, you know?
But do you know where you pick it from?
Pardon?
Do you know where you pick that from?
I learned it from him. He made it clear.
You learned it from him, but again, it follows the patterns of where you grew up from. That you never saw your father, yes, you never saw your father being belittled by your mother.
There you
At
go.
the same,
Yes.
that's the pattern I'm talking about.
Yes.
The patterns are very crucial. The man I am today, it has all whatever it takes of what my father was.
Yes.
But at the same time, I married 70% of my mother in Linda.
Describe her to us, your mother.
My mother is a calm, passive, aggressive woman.
Okay.
She will get you.
She will, it doesn't matter. Time is nothing on her,
Sigma female.
but she will find you. And for me, that was the one thing I said, Because wives align husbands, and husbands align homes. If we should go back to the biblical connotations in the creation story, a man was given a mission to fulfill and a vision. The legacy to be upheld, it's the wife's matter. It's not about the man. If I build a legacy and this conglomerate of companies and all, it is my wife's mandate to make sure the legacy thrives. How? She produces the seeds. These children, how they're going to be nurtured and trained and all that and groomed. I'm going to groom. You mess up with my wife, and she reports how we have issues. What my wife says, because that is inherent of me. I have this vision. We have run the race. We are there to sustain it, Mom. And how you match up your children to take up the mantle. That is your job, Kali. That's your job. On my end, I'll have my juice.
Moving away from our...
No.
That's what I'm saying.
What I was emphasizing, it's something to do with patterns. She can only accept what Emmanuel tells her that these are deal breakers, because growing up, she saw that there were deal breakers.
I respect Brian, but I didn't see those deal breakers because I was born in a broken home. And which is what I find the problem many times. We generalize things. Oh, she's empowered and respects her husband because she saw it with her parents. I didn't. I respect my husband. I call my husband Mr. Mulondo. I just do. Yeah? Yes. My mom didn't call my father that. I was born in a broken home. So certain times when you generalize things, it really, it puts out certain people, and yet, because I would be thinking now, oh, then I must be having a problem because where did I get this notion from? Where did I get it from? The truth is, what she was saying is that even when I feel that men are fighting women empowerment, but there is good women empowerment. There are good women that are empowered, who never saw it from a parent, or who saw it from a former parent, or who saw it happen, didn't like it, or saw something happen and liked it, and said, I want a good marriage. And that even if I'm empowered, I'm going to come into this marriage and I'm going to respect my husband. And then you have a husband who comes and meets her in this home, and he was raised differently. He was raised in a home where his mom was being beaten up, or he was raised in a home where his mom was submissive, or he was raised in a home where his mother had equal say in the home. But he comes and says, no, I'm going to come and I carry out and I do my duties as a man in this way, which is respectful. One of the things that I found is that when we say men should be men, it means in many men's minds that to be a man means to degrade a woman, I'm telling you, to push her down, because you see, the message you're sending right now is not saying that, know your husband. If he likes his feet to be massaged, massage them. Husband, if you like your feet to be massaged, tell your wife. Tell your wife. She can't refuse. Because you see, Mr. Kyamagero.
Okay,
Tell her, okay. Tell her. Kyamagero, right now, you're not the kind who wants your feet to be massaged.
But he loves
him,
it.
he likes it.
But let me ask GK something before he says, guys, we really went off. Nange, everybody went off. But do you believe that toxic men actually exist? Because when Manuela asked that, you said women will say toxic things to things they don't agree with.
Yeah, that's why
which we took responsibility for. Yes. We did. But on the other side, are there toxic men? And what is your definition of toxic? Andrew will give us his after.
Sichikiriza. Kubanga bwebyolabanga toxic mu tribe endala babyaniriza. I know it waliwo ba tribe eyo whereby omusajja akeera kutuula omukazi n'akola n'akima ebinyeebwa n'akola ki, and you know the man is seated. So what you are looking at as toxic, another person. But I know for a fact that there are toxic behaviors. I know for a fact that that's a toxic behavior. I know a person who up to now is still in a marriage where they're being beaten. I know that person.
The man, you know the man or the woman?
The woman.
Okay.
Nga bamukuba. But tomujja ku musajja oyo. Namugamba nti negwe. Boddamu okujja wange kati naye nja kwongera mukuba onyumira okukuba. Up to now, she has never. It's 12 years.
Do they have children?
12, yes.
Do they have children?
Yes. 12 years now.
Oh.
Now, to me, that's toxic. But to her, I'm not sure if it's toxic. Now, even the man, a person like that, even if she lands on a man who doesn't beat, she will think,
Doesn't love her.
I'm weak. So I know for a fact there are toxic behaviors, but not toxic men. Kati, nsaba kudabiriza ku kyewayogedde about kudabiriza yakyogedde bubi kati njala kukidabiriza. She mentioned something about the head massage of Mwami Mulondo. You see, olaba party eyo Mwami Mulondo wajira nagamba, no, babe, just show me where the food is. I will pick it. I will pick it myself. Ekyo kigattibwa ku kiriwo already. You see? He does that already. Yoyayana, waliwo kuyayana. But gwe ekyoba okola kwata omwezi nga obifumba obimulekere wali abyejjulire. Kijja kufuukamu olutalo. Kuba ojja mugamba gwe bulijjo ng'ogyejjulira, bulijjo togyejjulira. But the food is here. You've been doing this. Now, you see, men, waliwo ebintu ebiri basic ebibeera mu bulamu bwaffe. He's not just generalizing. Waliwo ebintu ebiri basic. Nammwe abakazi waliwo ebiri basic. Okay. Which, nti ku buli mukazi okisangamu. I want to tell you, ku nsi kuno tewali mukazi ataagala kuweebwa.
Alina kuweebwa paka lwava mu.
Taliyo ne wabeera ng'alina atya the empowered women that you're talking about. Oyo okimanyi nti owa boda asobola omukwanira ku nnusu 2,000 zokka z'amuwa. Eza data. Tolina data. Kankuweereza eyo data.
For me, what his expression is what about that guy would talk.
Nakuwulidde oyogera tolina data. Nakusindikira 2,200.
Abo ababoda ababolaba. Babbi abakazi b'abandi okamala omukamala. Olusuula ku boda bwamukamukwata wano bakuwulira oyombesa nagambye geno gy'abaana biki bisinga avuga. Ngola bitonyiiga maama ebifo ebyo nga omukazi ate abakazi baganya obbawuliriza. Siyanza njoga bwatyo takujoga. Lwaki okkiriza okujoga bwatyo omukazi omulungi nga ggwe. Bavuga obadde n'ogenda nga mutuuze nzinako omukyala yali akolana ku palamenti awo. Owa boda yamukwanira ddala n'amusigula n'amugyayo ku maka. Ng'ava n'asana wali n'amusonyiwanga nnusu akasanvu. Just nusu akasanvu 7,000
entry point.
Yes. 7,000 nagamba nedda leero tosasula. Obali awo ng'ali awo nti mbadde nkuleetedde oluwombo.
Kyekyo ky'oluwombo nze ndusamu nnyo ekitiibwa. Lwasigula omukyalo oyo. Mbadde nkuleetedde oluwombo. Najjaawo nampakinga namugamba emmere nagiwa basikali ne bagitwala. Munnange. After some time, omukyalo n'alaba nga this border guy was more caring. Ate yali amukwata. But you see, I've just talked about things that are basic on either gender.
So for the woman, it's the provision.
Because even if she has a lot, she would want.
You need to
Hey,
care.
katola wanti gwakavile kanonyesha okuba gwe yakitutte mu saloon. Naye omwami lwakuwadde ssente.
Kyenjogeddeko wano saawaayo ssente namala emyezi 3 2 bazisiba. Atabuka.
Wait, omusajja lwakuwadde. N'ogenda and you go to the saloon and you nosiba ponytail. Bulungi nnyo. That means a lot. That for me, nze sente z'enviiri sizizannyiramu. Naye ate nze kolerako okulumya.
Break it down.
Sizaabuwaze. Nsuwa mu kwagala. I give it in love.
Bring it in English, the entire statement. It makes a lot of sense.
You understand? I know that I'm supposed to give money.
Correct.
I'm supposed to. But when I'm told to give, I don't give. Beira wow. One, because any man, I'm talking about things that are basic, that shouldn't be viewed as toxic to you. But the world is making you view them as toxic. But they're basic on a man. Someone would say, watch, I have money. Human nature. Human nature, hey, no. Nze, I want geno sibe tapua. Ziba zichalia ze vidi zibali bayita tapua. Kendo zibe. Very good.
Balina kinky.
A kinky. Yeah. Nenga waliwo otuvidi twosiba omusajja nagamba ha. Nedda. Zenvidi togenda kugenda kusomero ly'abaana n'enviiri ezo. Togenda kugenda yo. Now, to another person they would say the head is mine.
It's my money.
Yes, it's my money.
Why That's exactly what I was thinking when you were talking about your wife.
Why are you?
If I want to
but you see, to a man, it is basic to be concerned about you.
Your outlook, yes.
Why? Because he is in charge of you. Kyamagero gave an example of a wedding day. It is basic for a man. Abasajja bonna kankubulire okujja nga si musajja. But a man, babo bebiyita baliburo oba modern day men, ojagenda tambula ekyogende ne luli okomewo, and I'm generalizing on this. Saga you are generalizing, it doesn't happen for me, my husband. No. After some time chivaayo ekyobusajja bwe nagamba naye oyitiriza okunjoga wajja ogende eyo buli kadde nze naawe tugenda twawukane oba you see, because it is basic for a man, like it is basic for a man to be jealous of their wife. Tugenda kubeera nga bakubira bukubizi essimu ssaawa 2 ez'ekiro, ali mu ntebe alaba ono alaba aljazera ali ku ntebe nga gw'oli mukukuta nedda naawe olimba nnyo. It is the basic of a man okujja kusikako essimu eno nagamba mbikulira password eno
Pesimu yagende nagula.
Mbikulira password. You see, now that one nze eddako eyo nga nkyakwana.
Ne Kuteesa alina love. Kuteesa had love. Do you know that?
Omwana yagenda nangamba nti you are controlling. It's not you are too controlling. Nze ate love yange erijjira mu control.
That's your love language.
Bwe mba sikukuyina mu ngalo zange sobola kuwa 10 sisobola kwagala. But to me, I want to know where you're going. Olinebani kweri. Ntinako controversy chinako because I am always muchita verse mwe.
Your risk averse.
Yes, mba manyi ojja kuleeta obuzibu. Ate obuzibu obwo bunzijire nga sisobola busolvinga. So what ligenda nga obuzibu obwo mbwetegekedde. Nti bw'oba kubbako ensawo.
Nti oyise katwe otambuza bigere.
Bw'ogwa ku accident. Mmanyi nti ngenda kujjanjaba nze yakwekiririza. That is me.
That's also what he said.
But you see,
while you were away, that's amazingly, that's exactly what he was talking about.
Exactly. Now you see, again, the basic of every gender that God created in every gender. That basic toxic. For example, overcaring, asking,
that is
it has never been.
But can't you say okaba?
It has never been toxic. Yes, it has never been toxic. But you see, even us, okusajjalata, it should not be toxic to you. Okusajjalata, nti gwesemaka.
Okay.
To be the man.
Yasajjalase. Chavene chidoka chigazuwa muchoyogera ekyoluzungu kyo. Ne okusajjalata okwegazanya. It is basic of a man. Man wants to stay in a place where he's glorified.
He's king.
Yes, ngabamu elevating. It should not be toxic. Ntali awo yefula boss no yogolaba. Emere nje mujulira ayagala njimulise nga najimulise yogolaba. No. It is not toxic. When we put men in a position of being women, we miss the beautiful things that God put on a man. The beautiful things. Imagine oyo musajja wo mulabe ali ku camera. Imagine nga tayina position yonna, tayina luli mwali gundi Moses ez'abazungu alidinga. The moment you start leading the man, you have lost him. The moment you want to give him the attention, ndoza kyekigambo ekyo ekituufu, attention yo omusajja ajagala tosobola kubaawo nga tomugambyeko. Attention for abasajja basic, naye the moment otandika omumusaasira, and Mwami Kyamagero talked about it, you lose him. Why? Because he fails to come out of that sympathy mode. Because that sympathy mode, many people use it as an escape for responsibility. Yes. Yep.
I must end this show, but I want an answer, yes or no.
Very quickly.
I'm starting with Mr. Kyamagero. Are there men that have abused their masculinity?
There are men who have abused their power, not their masculinity.
Okay. Are there men who have abused their power
Yes.
as a man?
There are men that have abused their power because of lack of knowledge and exposure. And at the core of it, the patterns, they are responding to the patterns where they grew up from. And they're not intentional to breaking them.
I want you to speak to him. Please talk to that man.
If a man of that sort, before I speak to that man, I want to conclude his statement. When a female sees that the man is not leading, a female is naturally designed with a masculine hormone within her that she'll overlap.
She'll step in.
And she'll step in. So when a man realizes, that's why we always, among us, the Baganda, we say, Wanji, just to pull you back, like
to call back attention.
to come back, that I can actually take lead on this. So if you're a man that has a pattern where you didn't grow up with a father, you are a man who is a yes man, you're a man who loves to, let's sit and talk, let's talk about it, that manyanga and all. You are a man who is not accountable. You are a man who is a crybaby. You always want to feel cherished and, pampered. One, you're weak. But that is something you can work upon. Whatever inadequacy you feel, be it financial, be it masculine-wise, be it mental, be it spiritual, it's something you can work up with. But it's something you're going to be very intentional. The challenge I want to give you is track your origin 5 generations before you. You are a true living pattern of that generation. There is something that was disrupted in those generations. If you're a drunkard man who does not want to, to work, and you don't want to offer support at home, you don't want to provide, because you grew up seeing that mother was always providing at all the layers, it's not shocking that you're attracted to women who are hardworking, women who can provide. You feel like for you that is your kind of tech. No, your pattern tells you that because your mother was a provider at home, it's not shocking that you're attracted to women who are hardworking and they can provide. There is a thin line there that you are not a provider. And in the instance, you're not actually leading that home. You're not leading that relationship. You're not leading that marriage. Just be intentional and say, this stops with me. Find alpha men within your circles, within your mosque, within your church, within your workplace. Talk to these men. For you to break this, that it stops with you, the first hard work you're going to do is to trace your 5 generations before you. And this has to stop with you. But it's going to be painful. I want to alert you on that. It's not going to be an easy journey. It's going to be a very painful journey. You're going to find inconsistencies and patterns and dots that speak to who you are. You're going to understand why you're attracted to the women you're attracted to and why they always have to be stronger than you. And above all, you're going to embark on a journey of changing the narrative. This is going to be painful. Those around you are going to feel a little bit uncomfortable, but it's this man you want to see come to life. Why are you doing this? Because you never want to see your son become that, because your son will be 10 times who you are today.
Kyamagero, I'll never forgive you.
Let's just. Oh, you never forgive yourself for giving him the chance to speak.
Like, how did we go from open table to not being a man? Let me just we said, are there men who abuse their panty? Yes. If you are there and you sit on a table and ask your wife, I'll forgive you later. Another day, not today. Yes, you're parting shots.
Don't temu jinya balenzi. Tosasira munyo mulenzi. Because each time you kusasira that man, that boy, you're going to need his defense tomorrow. But imagine someone you sympathized with yesterday. Then abachala, you go musajja wonno nnyo. Omusajja goyiza ajja kuwoomera nnyo. Ojja kumufunamu omukyuzi gwonna. Kubanga he's, you know, when a man says that you've learned him, asumulukuka yenna. Bino ebyapa bino byowulira bagaba bamuwadde ennyumba biki. Babibawa lwa bugonvu bwabwe. Buli wookaluba n'oba n'omuntu omunene, omutwe ogwo omunene nno munnange tegujja kuwasa, nkubuulidde. Ate okwepampaliko okwo n'amasandali ge bakozesa okulowooza nti naddala mu abasomye. Olina example gy'owadde naye tujja gyogerako nga tuvudde ku mpewo. Abasomye va ku masandali. Go back to the basic. Yagalibwa, let someone take care of you. Ate omwami muyite ssebo oba mwami so and so. Parting shots is ezo.
Thank you so much for being with us. And may you continue to open your mind to the truth. Yeah. I strongly believe the truth lies in the Word of God. And if you have role models who truly exemplify and embody that truth, stick with them. Have strong fellowships. Not every fellowship is strong. Not every Christian circle is strong. Some are just there to disintegrate families. You have to be careful. But follow role models where families are secure, and both where the husband and the wife are respectful of each other, and both the girls and the boys understand the value of diversity and the value of being the best version of themselves all the time. And the best version of yourself is being whom you're born to be, knowing your purpose. So fly, soar, don't be limited, be the person you're supposed to be, and have the right people around you. Thank you for watching.
With helmet on, I'd like to say that the Bible tells us about the order in the home. God, husband, wife, children. For safety, for security, to have a peaceful home. I think let's keep that order. With what the gentlemen have said and the ladies have said, empowerment, no empowerment, submission, whatever it is. Once we keep that order, I think God did it for a purpose. And that order is really to keep the home secure and the children secure. Secure home, secure children.
I think one of the worst things that we can do is live life unhappy.
Yeah.
I pray as men and as women, wives and husbands, we can hold each of ourselves accountable to our roles. Mm-hmm. That men, with the power that they have, will do right by women, and women, in our position with men, we shall do right by men. I have a theory. My theory is that men are struggling right now because in the past, this whole manhood thing caused them to bring pain and inflict pain upon women. And now that women are standing up, it's a hard one to bear. But here is my hope and prayer. That women, in our standing up, will never forget the position that God has put men in our lives. That we shall be respectful, that we shall do right by our homes, that we shall do right by the society. That even with all our strength, even with all our intelligence, even with everything that is under our arms, that we've carried with ourselves, that we'll never forget where we are. And that men, now that you've known the possibility of what women can do, I hope and pray that you'll go back and hold that power with more respect and with more honor that the Lord gave you with this gift called your power. I pray that you'll do right by the women in your lives. So whoever you are in the comment section, let us know what part of this conversation got to you. And let us know how you think toxic masculinity has affected you. Because to be honest, I didn't see this one coming. But for sure, we shall have some more guests that will take this conversation even to another level. Until next time, we can't wait to see you. Bye-bye.